Hey people, I was going through my comments on my YouTube and I got a comment from somebody. She actually binge watched a lot of my videos and she made a lot of comments on different videos I made. And the one that I want to talk about is where she asked that on the journey to Canada, which one comes first? Is it the express entry or the provincial nomination? I'll put the question somewhere here. So I the question got me thinking, like, this is like question I get often, and it's really hard to understand by a lot of people because the whole process of migrating, the whole documentation, the whole process is very overwhelming, very confusing, and if you don't have somebody to like discuss with you one on one, it's very hard to like understand the whole terminologies and all that. So for her to ask this question, it makes me to realize that this person has a lot of learnings to do for her to ask this question, and it's a general thing most people don't understand. Even over the weekend, I discussed with somebody back home in Nigeria and I explained all these things to him and he understood better because he was like he's confused, like which one is this, which one is that. So I'm going to be talking about express entry versus provincial nomination. So now the Canada migration is based on a platform called the express entry. So every application you're going to do, either you're coming as a permanent resident, you're coming as a student, you're coming as a work permit, even if you're coming as a refugee or a visitor, you have to be on the express entry profile. Correct me if I'm wrong. All those modes of coming into Canada, you need to be on the express entry. So if you're on the express entry, that is when you can now decide to do, okay, express entry is not working for me. Let me go through provincial nomination. So if you get so what is provincial nomination is when one of the provinces in Canada, province is like states, like majority of my viewers are in Nigeria. Province is like your state, like Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kaduna. When one of the province nominates you, so when they nominate you, it means okay, Manitoba, for example, is saying we want to come to Manitoba, or Alberta is saying we want to come to Alberta. So if you're on the express entry, you could now apply for provincial nomination. You could apply for it, or yeah, mostly when you're on the express entry, they give you an option to say, okay, do you want to apply for all the provinces? Like, do you want to indicate interest that you want to move to any of the province? There's a place where you tick and say yes, you want any of the province, you don't mind going to any of the province. But if you have a particular one in mind, then you're going to apply to that particular province. If you have the requirements to go to Alberta, you apply to Alberta province and say I want to come as a provincial, I want to be nominated from your province. You apply. We call it expression of interest. So that each province have their own different requirements for them to nominate you or for you to express entry to come to their province. Different criteria. I will be making a video to show the different requirements for different provinces, you know. So now you have to be on the express entry before you can do provincial nomination. So why do people go for provincial nomination when they're on express entry? People migrate to Canada just from the express entry. So when you're on the express entry pool, which we call the pool, like a pool of people from all over the world, you submit your application, you submit your profile on the express entry pool. Majority of people have migrated to Canada from that express entry because it is a point-based system whereby they do different rounds of pools. They do different rounds of draw. Sorry. They do draws. Sometimes monthly, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes 2 times in a month, sometimes they do different draws. And these days, the draws that they do is a lot. Before now, they just do express entry draws, they do PNP draws, then they do CEC draws. But these days, we have category-based draws, which I'm going to be talking about. I've just not been in the right frame of mind to make a video about category-based draws. So a lot of draws happen on the express entry with different cutoff marks. They could do a draw today and say the cutoff mark is 502. If you're on express entry and your point is up to 502, you're going to be selected. Tomorrow they could do it at 450. They could do so. You have anybody on the express entry pool is there on a particular point. You are either there as 340 something, you're either there as 500 and something, and all this is based on individuals. It is different for everybody. Cannot be on the pool with the same circumstances, either your work experience, your age, your education, your IELTS results. All those things are what combines together to give you your express entry score. Yeah, so all those things are what combines to give you your point on the express entry pool. So you keep looking out for the draws, and then you keep watching to see, okay, if your point is going to be picked. So we have a lot of people on the pool. They've been there for like 2 years, 3 years. Their profile will even expire, because I think the profile expires every 2 years on the express entry. We have a lot of people that have been there for 3 years. When it expires, they renew it. They go and write another IELTS exam. They renew it and still be on the pool, but their point is very low. For the last 1 year, the draws for general express entry has been massive. Like, the cutoff mark has been so high. It only favors people that have 500 points and above. Like, the highest point you can get on express entry is 600 points. So they have been picking 500 and something, 500 and something. And those 500 and something, if you look at it critically, those are the people that are below 30 years of age. They have masters. They don't only have first degree, they have masters. They have work experience. They have worked for more than 3 years. They have written IELTS, they passed the IELTS, they maxed out the scores. Most times they have maybe a spouse that also wrote the exam. Those people have opportunities to get high points. So it has been favoring those class of people. Imagine most people on the pool, they're over 40. When you're 40 and above, I think 35 and above, your age doesn't even add any score to you again. So you find that a lot of people fall in this category and are there for a very long time. Nobody is picking them. So that is why when they are now on the express entry, they're looking for different ways to increase their points. Okay, I only have a first degree. Let me go and do a master so that I will get more points. Okay, I want to increase my point. Let me go and write another exam and make sure I pass this time around, because the higher you score, the higher your points. I made a video about different ways you could increase your point on the express entry. I'll put the link somewhere. So when you're on that pool, you are looking for different ways for you to be selected. That is when the issue of increasing your points comes in. That is where the issue of doing a provincial nomination comes in. So you're on the pool waiting, nobody is picking you, time is going, you're getting frustrated, your country where you are is frustrating. You now start looking into the different provinces. We have 15 provinces in this country, in Canada. You come to Manitoba, you look at their requirements. Manitoba will tell you need to have a relative, you need to have a friend that is a PR or a citizen. You need to have work. If you get a job in Manitoba, they can nominate you and all that. You go to Alberta, gives you their own criteria. You go to Nova Scotia, give you their own criteria. Then, if you meet any of the criteria in those provinces, then you now express interest to that particular province. So for Manitoba, which I'm very conversant with, you express interest to Manitoba and say, hey Manitoba, I have the requirement to come to your province, please invite me. So Manitoba will now, if you're selected, they will now send you a letter. They call it LAA. That letter it's called letter of advice to apply. That is when they're telling you, okay, you say you want to come to Manitoba, okay, apply. That is the first stage. You now submit the requirements. You tell them that you have so and so person who is your sister in Manitoba. Then the person also do the documentation for you, and then you submit. Then the province will now nominate you. When they nominate you, they are going to give you additional 600 points to add to what you have on the express entry. So if you, for example, you're on the express entry with like 500 and with like 350 points, and they add 600 points to you, then you already automatically have like 950 points. So whenever they do any draw on the express entry for provincial nomination draw, you know you are going to be selected, because if they're doing draws based on provincial nomination, the score is usually higher, because they know anybody that gets provincial nomination to any province has additional 600 points. So the points that are going to use for that, they may say, that's why you get to see the draw. They will tell you the cutoff mark is 750. You'll be like, how can somebody have 750? It means that person got provincial nomination. In my own case, I was sitting down on the pool with 343, and then when I got my provincial nomination, I was on the pool with 943, and then they did a draw. I think the draw they did was for 750 something, and automatically you're selected. So when you're selected, like, that is when you get your PR. That's when you now apply. They call it what? ITA, invitation to apply. That is when you now apply and all that. So that is how provincial nomination comes into the picture. So not everybody that migrates to Canada got provincial nomination. Some people were picked from the Express Entry directly based on their scores. Even as at the time when we did ours, they were still picking draws of like 420, 410, and some people just like that, they were selected. There are situations whereby the province picks, you didn't apply, aside from the general express entry, when you're filling the form to be on the express entry pool, you indicate interest that you don't mind going to any province, which is normal for everybody to do. There's a situation whereby the province comes into the express entry pool and selects people, no matter what your score is. They may base it on your work experience. They may say, oh, like Nova Scotia can just come and say, we need 2,000 people to come and fill up the financial sector. Our financial sector, we don't have a lot of people. We want people that have work experience in the financial sector to come. They're not looking at your score at that point. They're looking at your work experience. So they come and pick you, no matter what your score, they pick people that have work experience. Say a banker in Nigeria, you're an insurance broker, you are this, you are that, anything that has to do with finance, they pick you. So they pick you and then they give you 600 points. You didn't go to the province and say I won. They pick you from the pool. We have thousands of people that were picked. They were just sitting down and then they receive an email that they've picked them. Like Ontario, they do it constantly, picking people that have IT background, tech background, because it's a big province. They need tech people and all that. So they come in and pick people that have tech experience. Like the Nova Scotia, I used to make an example. This happened to my colleague where we were working back home in Nigeria. She was in the pool with a very low score. There was no hope, so she was even losing hope and all that. And they picked her. Nova Scotia came and they said they needed financial officers, and she was working in the bank where I was working, and that was how she was picked. She's currently in Nova Scotia for over 2 years now. That was just it. She just got a letter of provincial nomination, and you accept it within 60 days, and then you get your 600 points. So that is how provincial nomination comes into the picture. So you definitely have to first have the express entry profile before you can think of doing provincial nomination. So you want to know, if you're sitting on the express entry pool right now and nobody is picking you, your cutoff mark is low, then you have the option to go to different province websites and look at what they require to be in that province. I know for Manitoba and for Saskatchewan, they need family relations. One of the major requirements is that you must have a family relation, brother, sister, cousin, uncle. Then you must have a friend. I don't know if that of Saskatchewan, if you need a friend, but for Manitoba, you have to show that you have a friend. Like if I'm your friend, for example, I could nominate you, I could invite you, I could be your sponsor. But the thing is that the points you get for somebody to be your relative is higher than the points you get for a friend. I think for relative is additional 200 points, for friends is like 50 points. So if you're qualified, but when the Manitoba is doing their own internal draw to select people to give them that letter I told you about, they also have their own cutoff mark. So if you are on the Manitoba provincial nomination, that's the MPNP, you're there waiting. The Manitoba also do their own internal draw to select people. So you have a friend that gave you 50 points versus somebody that has a relative that gave 200 points, you see that you don't stand a chance. Most times the draws does not favor people that have friends as relative. That is why you have people sitting on the pool, sitting in Manitoba PNP, and they're not selected because they don't have a relative, they only have a friend, or altogether they don't have anybody. You understand? So that is why, based on me being a YouTuber and I have fans, I have a lot of requests from my inbox or my emails that, Sadat, you are a friend, you can as well be my friend, can you invite me? Even though, yes, I could be friends to millions of you guys, I don't mind, but it doesn't really help because being a friend just adds 50 points to you. Except if you have other points, you have other qualifications that give you more points. You don't 50 points is something that you need, then yeah, why not? Being friends, somebody who is your friend can invite you and give you the additional opportunity to be selected for Manitoba. So what else am I going to talk about? I hope I'm making sense. I hope you guys are understanding, especially those people that are trying to start the process. It can be so overwhelming. I hope this explains something to you. So for you to even be on the express entry in the first place, you must be eligible to be on the express entry. The first thing is that you must, of course, have your valid international passport. And I advise, if you have like 1 year remaining in your international passport, just go and do a new one, because you don't want your passport expiring while you are still on the pool. You get a valid international passport, then you make sure you have written the IELTS exam, either IELTS or CELTIP or TEF for French speaking people. Make sure you've written the exam and you passed well. I think in the 4 modules of the exam, which is writing, listening, speaking, reading, you must not have below 6 points for you to be eligible to be on the express entry. So you must make sure you max out your IELTS. Then you must have evaluated your credentials. So if it's a master's you have, if it is a BSc and all that, you have sent it for evaluation. So we have evaluating body like the ICAS, we have WES is the most popular one. You've sent your credentials to Canada to say, okay, I have a master's back home in Nigeria, for example. My master's that I have is equivalent to the master's in Canada. So when you have all those documents, that's your passport, your IELTS results, and your evaluation, that is when you'll be able to apply to be in the express entry pool. When you apply, you get an email to show you are eligible or not. If you are not eligible, it is maybe because of based on your results, maybe your passport has expired or something, but mostly the results. If you didn't pass well, then you cannot be. We have people that they have in the 3 out of the 4 modules, you have maybe 7 points, 8 points, and just in one you have 5.5. You're not going to be eligible to be on the pool, because that happened to me. I wrote IELTS 2 times. The first one, I didn't pass my listening module. I didn't pass that one. I got 5.5 in listening. So I had to rewrite the exam. So at that point, I was not even eligible to be on the express entry pool. So I had to another IELTS, which I passed, and then I was able to be on the pool. So for you to be eligible, you need to have done those 3 things to be on the pool. And I usually advise people that make sure you're on the pool. Do all these things and just be on the pool. You never can say what will happen. These days, we have category-based draws that they may just be looking for health workers. You have experience in health working, or help as a health worker back home. They will just come to the pool and pick you, no matter how low your score is. They'll pick you and give you provincial nomination. That's for category-based draws. The scores are usually very low. They pick you. For provincial nomination, they may also say they want health workers to come and stay in Alberta. We need health workers. They come to the pool and then they pick you. For provincial nomination, that one is not even based on any point. They just pick you and give you provincial nomination. But for category-based draws, they bring down the scores lower than what general express entry is picking. So I advise people, just be on the pool and make sure you do your research to see that your job that you're doing aligns with the jobs in demand. That is another thing. The jobs in demand, and then the category based draws. I know on the top of my head, I know there's for health workers, there is for STEM, that is science, technology, something. Yeah. Then I know there is for transport workers, like people working in the transportation sector. They have their own draws that happens. Then trades and occupation, they have their own. If your job is close to that, is close to a transport worker, maybe you're working in the Nigerian Railway Commission or Big Corporation, or you're working in a trucking business, a trucking company or something related to that, then you align your work experience to favor to look like that is what you do. Even if it is not 100% what you do, make sure you check for the job in demand, look for what they need, and make sure it is in your job description. You're going to be picked when they are doing draws. So there's nobody that comes to this Canada that did not do research. Even if you use agents, you will do research more than the thesis that you haven't done in your school for that master's that you have. It requires a lot of research. That is why when somebody just sent me WhatsApp message, the person just says, send me the step-by-step process of relocating to Canada. I'll be like, where will I start from? Like, there's nothing like step-by-step. If it's matter of step-by-step, then everybody will be here. Everybody will be in UK, everybody will be in Canada. You have to make research because everybody's situation is different. You understand? Even like during my own time, I was working, but like 1.5 years, let me say 1 year to the time I left Nigeria, half of my body was already here. The other half was just doing my job because I was already fed up of my country. I was already fed up of where I'm coming from, and I was doing so much research. I was always on the internet. I was always on YouTube watching videos, learning things, learning the ways to do this. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I submit this? How do I apply for this? So you cannot even dodge that at all. It requires a lot of research. And if you know you cannot do research, you can get an agent. I am not against agents. I am not an advocate of don't do agent or do it yourself. There are some people that cannot just do it themselves. They're too busy, or they don't trust themselves, or they just need professional help. My own is make sure you make a research to know that this agent you're using is genuine. Maybe it's a referral from he has helped somebody that is already in Canada, or he himself is in Canada, he or she himself is in Canada, or they have, even when you're using agent, the IRCC, that is the Canada immigration website, IRCC, they are in support of you using an agent. They just want you to be sure that the agent is registered. If you have somebody come to you that can help you migrate to Canada, ask for the person's registration number, something RCIC number. If the person is genuine, they'll give you the number. You put it in the place you put it to search. When you put the person's number, it comes out with the agent's name to show you that person is genuine. Of course, I know not all agents have that qualification because you need to get like a diploma here in Canada to be able to be a registered agent, but that is one of the ways you could verify. There are different genuine agents that don't have the license. They're doing it maybe as a side gig or something. You can explore those people, but just make sure you do your research. You need testimonial. Can I have contact of people that you've helped? Or look for people that have migrated and that are your friends and they tell you they use an agent. You could use those agents as for your own self. Don't just fall prey to anybody that reaches out to you. Make your own research. If you lose money on your own. Recently I met somebody, I know one of my fans that reached out to me to help her to verify an employment letter she got from Manitoba here, from Winnipeg. They gave her a job. She paid heavily to get a job. They gave her a letter. In fact, when I saw the letter, I'm like, this is genuine. I checked, the address is on a very popular street in Winnipeg. The employer exists, but they are not the ones that employed her. Everything was genuine. In fact, me, I was even telling her that this thing is genuine. Who is this your agent, man? This thing is looking genuine. But by the time I called them, I showed them the letter and everything, they were like, no, this is not from us. And by the time she reached out to the agent and threatened the agent that if you don't give me my money, the person that helped me to verify this thing is a YouTuber. She's staying in that same province. She will blow you because I have the agent contact. I have everything about the agent. The email that they used to send her the employment letter, I have it. I have everything. I have the website of this thing. So she threatened them. We're going to expose you. Refund my money to me and all that. And before you say Jack Robinson, they refunded the money to her with apology. In fact, I was still on the case because this is just one case. How many people actually succeeded? What was her plan? Like, if they now come into the country as a work permit, they reach the airport, they call the employer, and the employer say no. What does that mean? What was her plan? So that's a case for another time. We may still blow the cover of that agent because the person is not genuine. You are just lucky to threaten the person, and the person says that they can expose me. And even the person that the victim's family is related to this, that has connection with DSS, with police, with my sister, the person refunded her money back to her. So what about people that don't have people to fight for them? They fall prey. They come into the country, they buy ticket, they come, and then they turn them back at the airports because it's fake. Or you do arrange, you give the person an employment letter, and person comes and there's no job. and the person has to fend for himself. There are a lot of situations like that, so that's for another time. So I hope this video makes sense. I hope I've been able to explain the relationship between express entry and provincial nomination provincial nomination. I hope if you have any further question, you could put it under my comment. I read all your comments. I try to respond to all my comments. So if you have any challenges, anything, please put it down and let us know. If you're here to subscribe to the channel, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're not subscribing. YouTube may recommend my video to you every time you watch it, but if you look at it closely and not subscribe, please like this video so it gets to other people, and comment and share to anybody that you think will like this. Thank you. Bye.